Okay. Good morning. It's now 11 o'clock, and I'm going to call the Electric Utility Board to order. Are there anybody signed up for public comments? Matt, that's a no. On number 3, did anybody want to make any comments related to topics discussed below or make comments on any future agenda items? No? Okay, then we're going to be going into executive session, and let me find my Tom notes. Is the mayor coming today? Do we know?
The mayor is in the building. He may be on too.
Okay. Just to come to executive is what you're thinking, maybe. We don't know. We'll be surprised. Okay. We are now recessing into the executive session in accordance with 1 VTCA Government Code 551.086 and 552.133 on combative matters of LP&L, and 2 VTCA Government Code 551.071 seeking the advice of and consultation with LP&L's attorneys on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Government Code, and seeking advice of its attorneys about pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers, and 3 VTCA Government Code 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, and or duties of a public officer or employee, the Director of Electric Utility Board, Director of Electric Utilities, Chief Administrative Officer, and General Counsel. And we do have a quorum. So it is now, we don't have enough. We've got Courtney and Matt here, and so we don't have a quorum of the City Council. So it's 11:03, and we'll go into executive session on the second floor, correct, Mr. Ivey? Okay, thank you. It is now 12:40, and I'm going to call the Electric Utility Board back to order. We still have a quorum, so the first order of business in the open session is to approve the minutes from the regular Electric Utility meeting held on August 20th of 2024 and the special meeting on August 30th. Are there any corrections to those minutes? I have one correction on page 8. Mr. Fields needs an S at the end of his name. And then also on page 9, I think that sentence that nominated that the offer, I would say nominated Rhea Hill, or that just is an awkward sentence to me, Tom. Nominated that the offer to appoint Rhea Hill to make the replacement of outgoing board member Dan Odom. So if you would just change that Chair Stafford nominated the appointment of Rhea Hill, I think would be Rhea Hill. I think that reads a little bit better. Are there any other corrections to minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes with those corrections. Dr. Gonzalez recommends. Dr. Fields seconds. All those in please approve, please say aye. Motion. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 8, Joel, that's you. You ready to go?
Yeah, it's me. Good afternoon, board. Good to see you all again. First thing I want to call out is just on page 36. It's the calendar. You don't necessarily need to flip to it, but our Public Power Week, National Public Power Week, is the week of the 6th of October through the 12th. And on the 6th of October, on Sunday, we're going to have our customer appreciation event out at Spirit Ranch, like we've been doing. So look forward to seeing you all there if you can make it, unless you're one of those people that are on vacation during that week or something. Does it start at noon? Who knows? Cody, you're in charge. 1 o'clock?
It starts at 1 o'clock.
Yeah. So good times. We got everything set up for the folks to demonstrate what they do. And it's a really neat event for the customers. It's neat for all of us. So everybody enjoys having that. So if you can make it, that'd be great. The 6th, October. We will do that, yes.
So,
Okay, we'll get that straightened out.
Thank you.
we'll get that straightened out. On another note, and then I'll sit down, we're going to do a series of discussions over the next 3 months, maybe 4, talking about our KPIs, key performance indices. Back in my day, it used to be KSIs, but now it's KPIs, and nobody told me. So it's just part of our strategic plan. That's if you don't measure, then you don't really know how you're performing. You don't know if any of it is even worth it. So we're going to be taking measurements. We're going to be reporting out to you all periodically on how that's going. And the first in the series is going to start today. Harvey's going to talk about the financial ones, in addition to talking about the paying off the bonds early. I didn't use the right words, but dropping that out. So, and then next in October, Blair will be talking about reliability, and then we'll follow on in November with Clint talking about customer service metrics. We want to have benchmarks. We want to have, performance indices so you can tell what is the so what factor of this, what matters, what's driving our business, and what should you all, more importantly, what should you all be concerned about? Those are the conversations that we want to have. So with that, Madam Chair, I will step down and we can get started. Let Casey take over.
Do you have any questions of Joel? Thank you, Joel. Casey, we're ready for you.
Okay, we're going to be going through our July financial statements today. So starting with the cash, we did have an increase in cash from last month of $6.7 million. If you go to our cash flows, you can see that $9.4 million of that is from our operating activities. So we've discussed early on before we transitioned how the due dates are changing. So it used to be like 21 days or something like that. Now it's 35 days. So we're really starting to see the payments come in from the reps now. So over, this month and then also next month, we're going to see that summer billing coming through. So we're going to see an increase in our cash from that. But I also wanted to point out, if you look at our receivables for CCS, which is old world pre-transition, we're still receiving payments on outstanding electric balances from there. So that's good news too. In our cash flows from our financing activities, we have a negative cash flow of $1.9 million, and that's going to be due to our CIP spending. And then in our cash flows and investing activities, we have a negative cash flow of $448,000, and that's going to be because we didn't have any drawdowns on bonds for our June CIP expenses. In our liabilities, we did have a decrease in our liabilities of $2.1 million, and that's mostly due to a decrease in payables we had from June to July. Overall, our net position has increased $8 million since last month. Going on to our ratios, so we do see an increase in our days cash from 155 to 165. As I said, in August, we're going to see that increase again with the payments coming in from June and July billing, so that's going to increase some more. In our operating ratio, we had a decrease from 8.71 to 8.3. I think this ratio is going to stay pretty consistent because now the driving number in this ratio is going to be our billed revenue. So in August, September, since it's been less hot, we might see it go down just a little bit. The other side of this ratio is our expenses, but those are fairly stable month to month now. So really the driver here is going to be the revenue we bill out. In our current ratio, we see an increase from 2.45 to 2.62. And that's going to be a result of, we had an increase of $4.7 million in our current assets, and then a decrease of $2 million in our current liabilities. Moving on to our income statement, you can see that we're over budget by about $5 million in our distribution revenue. Our revenue is load driven now, so as we move into the summer months, we're going to see higher revenues come in. We will see a slight decrease in this in August, but we still are going to be over the monthly budget for August. Our T-cost revenue is coming in over budget due to the new billing matrix in 4CP. And then our operating expenses are slightly over budget, and that's also going to be due to the billing matrix in 4CPs that were released in May. For our budget actuals, if you look at our distribution revenue, we're at 71%. So this was 6 months of budget, so should be at 67% right now. So we're coming in over budget for our distribution revenue. Our hold harmless payment is coming in right at budget. T-cost is slightly over budget, and then our operating expenses are coming in about 10% under budget. But I did want to point out our overall operating income. So we are still showing a little bit under budget on that at 75%, but we had a 24% increase since last month in our operating income. I did take a look at a rough draft of August, and we should be right at budget with August, how those revenues are going to come in. Anybody have any questions for me?
Casey, just looking forward, if August, you think we're going to be right on budget, do you think when we end up September, we're going to be in good shape?
Yeah, so we've been watching it, and I think we're going to meet for operating income what we have in previous years. So we did, pull out a lot of revenue when we left the purchase power business, but we also pulled out a lot of expenses. So, the net effect of that is going to be we're running about the same as we have in the past.
And next year's budget, we won't have that dual deal of
Exactly. It'll
the
just be
gas, so
straight
it'll just be
distribution.
straight through.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Number 10, that looks like Harvey headed our direction.
I just want to, one thing I just want to cap off on what Casey was talking about for operating income. And that was one of the key measures we had when we were going to make the transition from prior being a fully integrated, vertically integrated utility with customers to just being a poles and wires company on the other side. I did, in a Finance Review Committee meeting, we did a stretch and we showed from 2016 to going forward in our financial plan, our operating income. And our operating income remained fairly stable. And the importance, just to kind of highlight it a little bit, that Casey was sharing, and that is we are right on exactly where we thought we would be for our operating income, meaning that financial flow from being prior to going into retail market to now after that has remained actually exactly as we thought, fairly stable. So that means, and what that means is we're covering our costs. We're recovering it from our customers. We're in a position that we were able last week to offer up a rate decrease to our customers, and we're able to stay on track. So that's it's just an important feature. I just want to make sure, I know you guys hear that, and I just want to make sure I capitalize on it, because I want to take what she said and tie it back to previous conversations so that you catch the track. What we planned and what we intended on doing is exactly what continues to happen. And so we're right on track where we should be. I'll talk about that more just in a minute, but I wanted to look at kind of our financial metrics. So this is just as what Joel was talking about. What we're doing, why are we changing? The question is, why would we change our targets? And so what we're trying to do is to take these metrics, these six metrics that we've got for finance, and anchor them and tie them to up-to-date market matrix so that we can benchmark ourselves. How are we performing? So I'll just walk through quickly. I won't get you too deep in the weeds on it, but for operating ratio, when you see a 0.81 is our current, and what we're proposing is a 0.856. What's that mean? That means for every dollar of revenue that we pull into the business, when she pulls up the stats and she goes through that, that means we've got 81, what we will proposing is that we'll have about 86 cents for every dollar of revenue. We have 86 cents in expense against it. And that is a forward, it's a great forward-looking metric, which means you can come in slightly higher than that at periods of time. You can even hit slightly over 1 for a period of time. But if you sustain that, you can forecast that you're going to be in trouble at some point, because that means your expenses are out. You're going to run into income statement issues over the long run. So those are like long looking forward things that we would look at. So what we did is we've got our 2024 APA, American Public Power Association, looking across public utilities across the United States. And what's the median target? The median target is the 0.856. So if we're going to benchmark ourselves, we just want to make sure that's current. So that's the 0.856, or about 86 cents of expense for every dollar of income that we've got. For current ratio is now looking at our balance sheet. That means for all of our current assets divided by our current expenses, how is that looking? And so for us, if we look at that, we looked at our Fitch peer review, and that is a rating agency, and we looked at what is the median for AA minus, because that's ultimately where we're trying to get to. So we have Moody's that has put us into that category so far. They did that here just back in July. We're just under that. We're at A+ with S&P, and we just had a meeting last week on Wednesday with Fitch. Had an excellent meeting with them, and so they're in the process of reviewing us. They're very pleased with where we're landing, and we should get an answer from them by the end of this month. It could potentially mean a rate increase as well from them. So we want to benchmark ourselves against that for AA minus. So that target is 2.59 times current. So if you take your current assets divided by your your current assets divided by your current liabilities, you're at a little over 2.5 times current assets to ratio. So that's a good thing, meaning your balance sheet's strong, your inventory's strong, your cash is strong, you're looking good. Days cash on hand, our minimum requirement is 90 days. We have 120 on there because ultimately over the long run, we'll have some pluses and minuses there. Where do we look to be in the long run is about 120 days. And that's assuming we're taking on cash funding of capital. We are paying down some debt, which we have proposed, which I'll talk about next. And then also managing our rates on a downwards trajectory. We really want to end up in the long term around that 120-day mark, which is a nice, comfortable mark to be in and gives you plenty of cushion. Our debt to assets, all of our debt divided by our total assets, our target is 50%. We don't want to change that. That is the median for APPA customers who do not have generation assets. If you have generation assets, you tend to run higher in debt because you're trying to cover those and maintain those. 50% is just about is the median for like utilities like us without generation. Also for debt service coverage ratio, we've got it at 2.26 currently. We moved that to 1.9, and again, that reflects the Fitch peer review for AA minus companies, and that's the median target. So if you're 1.9, you're right in the middle of all the customers, all the other public utilities that are in a AA minus territory, and that's where we're trying to go. So not that we're trying to lower that target so that we could do less. We're actually well in excess of that number, but it's a number we want to make sure we maintain to get to our credit rating target. So we want to make that meaningful. And obviously our reserve to reserve requirement ratio, we want to make sure we're at the minimum of that at all times. So that's what we've proposed for our financial metrics. And we want to make sure that they're tied and updated and refreshed for targets that we're trying to achieve as a utility. So any questions on those?
So these are the 6 in next year's budget we'll be measuring?
Correct.
Okay.
That's exactly right. So that's all I got for number
Okay,
for
now
number
do you
10.
want to do number 11?
That's correct. So in our strategic plan, we had indicated that we want to pay down debt, and our first target that we wanted to look at is looking at our 2015 revenue bond that we had taken out. It's reached its 10-year callable period. One of the things we consider when we're looking to, redeem a debt or basically do a bond redemption, and that is how much is that costing us in interest compared to if you've got cash that you're going to pull out to cover it, making sure does that make sense. So for us right now, the coupon rates for the remaining 10 years of this bond are going to be annually 5%. Our TechStar right now is sitting at 5.2%, but with where we're headed with the trajectory, that's been coming down. The TechStar rate has been coming down. It's only been over 5% for the first time in 20 years since May of last year. It's now on its trajectory to drop back below 5%. We've got the Federal Open Market Committee meeting tomorrow that we think is going to be anywhere from a 25 to a 50 basis point drop, which tends to affect it. The 10-year Treasury, 10-year U.S. Treasury that tends to affect that rate has also been on a steady decline, and it will likely be it'll likely be below 5% before the end of this year. So we are looking for an April 15th redemption of this bond. The amount that we'll need to cover is what we would have normally covered this year, so that's $922,000. So that includes what today we're going to pay this month, and I should say this month. I'm thinking it's October. October, I'm so ahead. October, we're going to pay half of that interest rate, half of that interest that we would normally do. It's $372,000 for this year. We'll pay $186,000 in October. Then we'll pay another $186,000 or the balance of that in April when we do the final redemption. And then we owe the $7,660,000 worth of future principal that we owe on it, and that will extinguish the debt as of that time. That will save us $2,097,000 in interest that we won't have to pay on that bond, and it also then frees up future cash flows, which are just under $1 million a year on that issuance. So it frees up cash flows, it saves us interest, and it also continues to improve our creditworthiness position and this stays on target with what we're looking to do. So I have before you a resolution to approve or recommend to the City Council on October 8th to approve a redemption of the 2015 revenue bond. So I'll stop there for any questions before we go to that point.
Does anyone have any questions? So this resolution will recommend to the council on October 8th.
Yes.
Then you've got to give prior notice so that in April of '25, the redemption will occur.
Correct.
So we're ahead of the game, but that's what we need to be doing,
That's
correct?
exactly right.
Do I hear a motion to recommend this resolution to the city to redeem the 2015 revenue bonds in April of '25?
So moved.
Second by Dr. Ryan. Dr. Fields made the motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Harvey.
All right, thank you.
Good planning, good following the strategic plan.
Thank you for your
Okay,
support.
Clint, are you 12 and 13?
I am.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am here to ask you to consider a resolution authorizing our CAO to execute a First Amendment to the Oracle Universal Credit System. Now, what this does, it's for customer information system, meter data management, mobile workforce management, advanced metering infrastructure, and Oracle Field Services. What it does is it changes the not-to-exceed amount that was allocated from $35,218 by $105,000 to an ongoing allocation of $140,000. So that's basically this year and last year for that project. So we need this in order to continue doing business with Oracle. Basically, they support us on these.
Does anyone have any questions? Clint, if not, I'll entertain a motion to amend that to an allocation of not to exceed from $35,000 to $105,000.
So moved.
Mr. Davis makes the motion.
Second.
Dr. Ramirez seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The motion carries. Number 13, Clint.
Item 13 is to a first renewal to Oracle ordering document to extend the services related to support for additional test environment. What it does, it extends the term of the project by 1 year from to September 30th, 2025, and allocates $85,239 for the year. What this is for is for a test environment for Smart Meter Texas, which we have to have in order to get it going.
Any questions of Clint? If not, I'll entertain a motion to renew that additional test environment by 1 year for the amount of $85,239.
So moved.
Dr. Fields makes the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Davis seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The motion carries. Number 14, is that Clint?
I will
You're
do
still on the same
14,
show,
and,
third time around.
This is me. What it does is it authorizes, we're asking for you to authorize our CAO, Joel, to execute on behalf of you all the future new, amended, or replacement ordering documents that go with our original PSA that was back in May 29th, 2018, as long as the not-to-exceed amount to the total agreements don't change. What this does, it just allows us to get these agreements in this PSA, which we have them all the time. It lets us go ahead and execute them and get them out the door and not bring them to y'all when it's already been approved.
Right, the next not to exceed stays, it just allows you, Joel, to petition them
That's
as
correct.
needed.
That's correct.
Are there any questions from the board on number 14? I'll entertain a motion then to authorize this resolution. Dr. Ryan made the motion, Dr. Fields seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. You got them all done,
Thank you
Clint.
very much.
Thank you. On the consent item, there are two things. Does anybody want to pull those, or may we vote on the consent items as presented? If no one wants to take them off the consent item, I'll entertain a motion to approve both of these consent items. Dr. Ramirez makes the motion.
Second.
Mr. Davis seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And the motion carries, and we're adjourned, and it's 1:05. Thank you, everybody.
That's close enough.